municipality, but we are not the only one. But we certainly are much more closer to the Bill of Rights than anybody else that runs in the city. I was maybe taking myself back and thinking about 2012, was it, when we first produced the 9 diagnostic issues before the national plan was developed in 2015. And there were 9 issues that were problematic. Too few people work, too few people go to school, too few people. And what the NDP did was to take those 9 issues that were in their diagnosis into positives. So the minister, or deputy minister, in fact, I think it was the MEC, stole my thunder when he quoted those key building blocks directly from the 1998 white paper. And just to run through them quickly: democratic, accountable, responsible to community needs, provide services, etc., drive social and economic development, creates a safe and healthy environment, and all that. That a package of those things, I don't think they've changed. I think we can only reaffirm that those are still as relevant as they were, and they've been relevant even before 98, and they've been relevant since we got through our old forms of governance. That's what a decent level of living means. And all we have to do is to be able to deliver on those areas, and that would make us a good municipality. But over the years, bringing in other issues, like, for instance, beginning to say that if there are 4 things that you should master, and they are separate but interrelated, it doesn't matter whether you're changing a globe, like the MEC was saying. You have to procure that globe. It requires some control system and financial management. Someone has to take a decision on whether we're using an LED globe or whatever. Those are governance issues. Someone will have to decide on how operationally we are going to move that globe from a depot to wherever it goes, maybe it's street furniture or some facility that we have. So these 4 big elements you have to master one way or the other. And I'm not saying you as a councillor or you as an administration, but collectively as an organization, you have to master those. The AG was here just now, but can I get an AG, our AXA? She always raises 3 things. Number 1, she says, you must have your control environment in place, okay, to be effective. And when she talks about control, it's not always about financial control mechanisms and all that, but just your control environment, how you take decisions, your leave forms and whatever. And secondly, she says that you have to be able to be measured on what promises you make a performance. If you say that these are my targets, these are my KPIs, these are my KPAs, that you are able to measure those and deliver on the promises that you make, and ultimately make a difference, and that there'll be impact. That's the second thing that she raises. The third one is that you comply. And she always puts it so smart and so simple that if you do these 3 things, you get a clean audit. And it becomes, for me, another critical building block in what we do. Lastly, I think maybe just to reiterate the triangle, and that's the point that the DM cut me short on. But that triangle is also very central, and by the way, it also comes from Section 152 of the 1998 White Paper. When we talk about this concept of a developmental local government, it places local government right at as a responsible body that balances politics, that balances communities, and our administrative systems. And I always say that, if you are an MM, you have to find yourself in that middle of that triangle. You're balancing your politicians, you're balancing your community, and you are head of administration. If you are a mayor, you also are in the middle of that triangle, not outside the triangle. But those relationships are quite important. They make or break most of our municipalities. So the ideals for me, one is just go back and think about what it takes to make a great town, what it takes to make a great city, what it takes to make a great village. Place yourself in the middle of that responsibility, take up the responsibility, and be able to say every time when you come back from work that I've made a difference. We live in a great city, and we can make our great towns great again. And what is it that you require? Most of it, don't think about your own competences. Think beyond your own competences, but you are a great key facilitator of that growth in our towns and cities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ntate Moloi. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our last speaker this afternoon is Professor Toffa from Wits University. Prof.
Good afternoon, esteemed attendees of this conference. So just to clarify, I'm not a professor yet. I'm a lecturer in urban design at Wits. And I'm just going to be talking today a bit about kind of a building block to functional municipalities, and to sort of leverage on what our veteran has said in terms of what makes a great town, city, etc., because that kind of talks to the scale of urban design. So local government challenges are not abstract. They are spatially visible. They're seen in sewer spillages, informal sprawl, failing infrastructure, unsafe public spaces, and fragmented public investment. These challenges are often framed as governance or financial failures, but they're also spatial failures. Municipalities function in space. Service delivery happens in space. Infrastructure is planned, built, and maintained in space. When spatial decisions are poorly coordinated, municipalities are pushed into a continuous kind of crisis management mode. So urban design directly addresses this gap. It provides a way to translate policy, planning, and investment into functional, coordinated places on the ground, where municipalities can deliver services more efficiently and more sustainably. So what is urban design in summary, for those who are not familiar with this, this discipline or this way of working in the built environment? So it's concerned with how places work rather than how they look. It focuses on the relationship between land use, infrastructure, movement systems, public spaces, and the built environment. And essentially it's about how all these elements work together to support everyday life in towns and cities, even rural areas. In a municipal context, urban design operates as a linking mechanism between policy and implementation. It translates high-level strategies such as the IDP, SDF, and national urban policies into clear, spatially coordinated actions. So there's practical tools for urban design such as precinct plans, urban design frameworks, as well as urban design and public realm guidelines. And essentially these tools enable municipalities to coordinate infrastructure investment, guide development in a predictable and cost-effective manner, reduce ad hoc and reactive decision-making, and also ultimately improve service delivery outcomes through better spatial planning. So one thing that I would like to emphasize is that urban design isn't always about architecture, and it's not always about beautification. It's an implementation and governance tool. In simple terms, it's a space where policy, infrastructure, and people come together. It is how plans become functional spaces. This might be a bit of a sensitive topic, but it also sits in a strong policy and legislative framework, including IDPs, as well as SPLUMA. So SPLUMA is essentially the statutory foundation for coordinated spatial planning and land use management, and urban design operates within this legislative framework by giving practical spatial expression to it. So through urban design, municipalities are able to implement SPLUMA principles consistently, translate statutory planning instruments into place-based outcomes, as well as reduce ad hoc and reactive planning and land use decisions. I'd just like to talk a bit about, briefly, the contribution that urban design can make to provincial objectives that have been discussed in this conference. So one being the changing narrative on local government framework. can be negotiated, aligned, and directed to support long-term benefit, including planning for post-mining futures. It's also about supporting institutional reform. Urban design plays a role in introducing rules-based decision-making through clear guidelines and spatial frameworks. This reduces reliance on discretionary or politically driven decisions and supports institutional continuity beyond electoral cycles. It's also about supporting the 26 local government elections. Well-designed municipalities are easier to govern. Reliable infrastructure, accessible public space, and coordinated service delivery reduce crisis management before, during, and after elections, contributing to stable and functional municipal systems. I'd also like to just touch on why it's important for a space like a province like the Northwest. So the Northwest, from an urban point of view, is a resource-rich but spatially fragmented province. It's strongly influenced by mining economies. It's facing post-mining spatial and economic risks. It's shaped by traditional authority land governance systems, and it's experiencing high infrastructure costs due to low density and unplanned growth. Poor spatial decisions today become unfunded mandates tomorrow. Compact, coordinated development reduces infrastructure costs, improves service delivery outcomes, and strengthens municipal sustainability. Urban design plays a role in this. It provides municipalities with a way to manage growth responsibility, negotiate complex land governance, and plan for long-term spatial resilience. In conclusion, I'm not here to promote a particular discipline, but just talk a bit about what building block can be placed into the system that promotes good local governance. So urban design is not an additional layer in municipal planning, it's an enabling layer. It is how governance, infrastructure, finance, and people come together on the ground. If we want every municipality to work, we must design how municipalities work in space, spatially. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Toffa. Colleagues, it's your turn. I'm not sure if we've got roving mics around, so, and those who are going to, yeah, we need mics. We have about 15 minutes, so we're good. So, and I can't see that far, so I'm going to, there's a hand, roving mics? No?
it assumes a certain degree of orderliness, particularly public orderliness, which in my view does not exist currently in the country, and it has created a huge problem. Let me explain myself what I mean by lack of public orderliness. In most municipalities I've been involved with, the supply of bulk infrastructure has always followed people who have settled on the land. And that's why you've seen mushrooming of informal settlements, and bulk infrastructure only follow thereafter. And it's a very big problem countrywide. And it's one of those things that has made me think that our state has lost its ability to be authoritative. Because people just settle all over as if there is no law, there's no government, there's no law enforcement, and so on. From the point of view of urban design, what can you recommend to fix this problem? Because it's getting bigger every day. Thanks.
You did not introduce yourself. We need to take notes.
I thought I did. My name is Kgothakgothe.
Thank you.
I'm part of the NCR team in Kgothakgothe.
Perfect. Thank you. Colleagues, hands. There's a hand this way, this side. Okay. Number 2. Any other hand, colleagues? It's 2, 3, and then there's number 4 there. Yes.
No, thank you very much. My name is Munna Pula Mutiwi. Currently, I'm serving as the MMC for Corporate Support Services at Nakamuduru Mulem. The question that I have is that the DORA allocation that has been done by Treasury, has it taken into cognizance the population trends after the new population stats that has been released by Stats SA in terms of population growth? I am saying this in the advent that they do have an impact in terms of allocation to municipalities, especially rural municipalities who are dependent on MIC allocations.
Is that question to Dr. Shopola?
Yes, yes. And then lastly,
okay.
There was a submission that was done, particularly around a radical policy shift, your macroeconomic policy shift that's supposed to be implemented after these consultations. Now, my issue is that I do concur with that policy shift. The only issue that I want to stress is that we have policies such as your indigent register, in municipalities, where they are somehow used as a gauge in terms of our poverty line, in terms of how our communities can be able to survive. Or now, I take the indigent register myself as an apologetic intervention mechanism, which is merely used to address exclusion of our people in terms of how we're supposed to be assisting them. Now, that macroeconomic policy shift, in a way, is going to assist so that municipalities are not overburdened in terms of underfunding, because indigent registers, they hardly address the challenges of our communities. So how is that going to be implemented in terms of the grant allocations?
Okay, the second part of the question is going to Dr. Shopola again, or Yes, yes. So Ntate Moloi will take that. There's a hand right at the back, and then we can come here.
Chairperson, good afternoon, and to our conference attendants. My name is Frans. I am the Municipal Finance Advisor as part of the Kgothakgothe turnaround team, and thank you very much for this topic. I don't know how, if I'm sure the panel will agree with me, it may be one of the neglected areas in municipal governance or municipal local government management. And from a municipal finance perspective, I may even want to say, I think from a resourcing perspective, it's also neglected, if not very neglected. And I want to make a recommendation perhaps to the House, just like the national government, from a finance perspective, have a minimum for repairs and maintenance. I wonder if we shouldn't start looking at some similar minimums in terms of resourcing for spatial development, framework planning, and all of that goes with it. I tell you one thing, it may be also one of the reasons why our economy is not growing, because we sometimes forget that in the middle of economic development and driving of economic growth is this very topic we're talking about here today. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. The last hand is here, and I'm going to close the questions.
Good afternoon. My name is Aluwani Ramagaza from the MDB. My first question, I think, is on the panelist who spoke about urban development. That's my first question. But let me start with my second. I think it's going to go to Dr. Shokola broadly, or any one of the panelists. I have a sense that we're very tolerant to all the things that are not going right, which we've been speaking about from the whole morning, all the stuff that's not happening in our municipalities. I think we're very tolerant to an extent that sometimes I think we are at a time where we need to be a little bit more, let me use the common word that people like, a little bit more radical with service delivery. I'll tell you why I'm saying this. I think our communities are getting, or they're already there actually, they are getting fed up with things not happening, but perhaps they just don't know how. That's why we would have protest councillors, as we were told earlier. But the reason why I'm raising this is because I think, especially lack of development and poor service in most of the communities, more especially in poor communities, where there's a lot of lack of development. I think we have come to the time where we need to do things far more differently than the systems and processes that we have currently. So what I had a thought about is, which is the question that I'm directing to Dr. Shakola. What do you think as municipalities or as a country we should be doing to address the immediate lack of service delivery? In any district that we have in the country, we know of the serious service delivery challenges that the communities are experiencing. What stops us from targeting with the funds that we have, limited funds that we have, sitting down as a district or as a local municipality or collectively in an IGR forum and say, in our district, our biggest challenge is housing. With the funds that we have, why don't we pull them together and focus and make sure that we eradicate the housing problem? Water, for example, if that is the biggest challenge, what stops us to start thinking in that way? Because if we're going to continue and say, no, we're a developmental local government, we'll put 5 rand there, 5 rand there, 5 rand there, no impact. People can't see a difference. So that's where we have a problem. My second question relates to planning. In a province like Northwest, and many other provinces, in fact, all the provinces in the country, one of the biggest challenges that we have seen since the advent of democratic local government is the deterioration of our towns, our small towns. And these towns were and have always been the core economic hubs of the different places that we have. So when the municipalities were drawn or were put together, I think around 1999, most of them were drawn around these core areas or nodal points, which means if the nodal points are not taken care of, effectively are destroying those municipalities. So my plea it's got to do with the fact that we need to make sure that these core areas are working. If these core areas are not going to work, guaranteed that those municipalities are not going to work. Otherwise, we're going to have to do away with wall-to-wall municipalities and go back to TLCs and TRCs or focused towns and so on, so that we can revive these core areas and create employment and develop economy and then have sustainable municipalities. Thank you.
Yeah, but you did not ask a question.
Okay, my question has got to do, how do we make sure that these core areas once again start functioning? Because they are the ones that make or break the municipalities in terms of the planning that she was talking about. So that's the question that I want, as municipalities, we need to start thinking about. Because if we're going to continue with the neglect and make sure that these towns disappear, we should be rest assured that even the functionality and the sustainability of municipalities is going to remain a question. So how do we make sure that these core areas, I'm avoiding the word towns because they've got that historical background, but we know, all of us here, what I mean. These core areas that sustained the regions and the different areas, and now the municipalities, most of them have gone. So how do we bring them up to make sure that they help in sustaining municipalities?
Yes. Okay, so colleagues, we have only 5 minutes. I'm going to, obviously the panel will not have time to be very specific. I'm going to ask if Ms. Toffa is going to start. I will give her 2 minutes. She's got a few questions that she needs to field. And then Tate Moloi and then Dr. Shopola, a minute each. And then Lorato, you're going to have a minute as well. In that order, colleagues.
Okay, thank you for the pertinent questions. In terms of the first question that was asked about a sense of disorderliness, I think that's where the role of urban design as kind of a driver in an interdisciplinary planning process can assist. So for example, like a precinct plan would take into account infrastructure, planning, economic development, and multiple layers of the built environment. It's not a silver bullet solution to any municipality or any province which is experiencing high rates of urbanization, spatial fragmentation, etc. But it's some way to start. So one of the things that we have worked quite strongly to do through urban design is to break down silos in terms of how municipal departments operate. So an example of that would be looking at something like the Corridors of Freedom in Johannesburg. I hope that maybe some people are familiar with that. One of the things that happened with that is that there was a drive for densification of certain areas, and the planning department surged ahead without necessarily allowing for the bulk infrastructure to be planned ahead of that. And we're now sitting with the water crisis in Johannesburg and not enough infrastructure in place to support this densification. So that's a problem with siloing amongst departments, because the planning department surged ahead, not realizing completely or following through with the implementation of the infrastructure. So I think it's maybe a way to deal with it is to look at working in a more coordinated manner, and urban design plays a role in this by creating a coordinated plan that guides this particular spatial direction, tying in all the elements such as infrastructure and planning. There was also one last question about the role, sorry, I've just gone a bit blank. Do you mind just clarifying your question, sir?
The small towns.
Oh yes, the small towns. Yes, so I think with small towns, we've also done some work in small towns in terms of urban design, both professionally and within the university. And one of the main aspects is focusing on regeneration. as opposed to planning. So looking at how, what kind of economic base exists within these small towns, what historically was the economic base of those towns, and has this been depleted, and is there a way to revive it? And then what this kind of economic stimulus means in a spatial way. So be it on the outskirts or in the actual center of the town, but it's really about understanding how to economically regenerate these towns and what the spatial impact of that would be.
I think on the radical policy shifts, let's be frank, there's a debate now about funding. I don't want to say funding local government, just generally funding in the country. So there's one debate that says, let it be driven by economic growth. Let's wait for the right inflation targets to hit. Let's wait, I think the DM was talking about 1.4% this morning, GDP increase. And that the more we invest in growth, we rally behind the president and the growth recovery plans and all that, the more we can stimulate quicker the release of funding for us to be able to fund our infrastructure and all that. But there's another argument, and I think I must warn you, the MEC for Finance was very clear that the people in Treasury are not nice. Okay. And they're getting to a point where they're beginning to say there must be a stick. Okay. And that stick will have to follow the reform agenda, the immediate one, especially dealing with the immediate one, around reallocations of DORA, around grant reorganization and reforms and all that. So there will be an immediate stick that will sting before we get into nice, fancy arguments about the economy. But just on the list at the moment is that let's find new revenue streams for local government. We anticipate that the fuel levy will dry up in about 10 years. There are EV cars coming in like hell, okay. Electric vehicles. We still didn't have a good replacement for the REC, and that debate is coming back. We still need, I forget the exact term that we use, but these are taxes that are originated from where they are sourced. And the good example is to take VAT, for instance. Let's have a percentage of VAT being given back to municipalities where that VAT is collected, whether 2% or 1% of VAT or something like that. So there are those mixtures of issues around municipal finance. It's a pity that the the Deputy Minister ran out of time. But then there's a whole lot of options. Once you get the document, go back to Chapter 9 and look at the options on service delivery, including how we deal with the immediate problems that we face at the moment. Thank you. I'd like to be excused if that's okay. I've gone past my bedtime, so I need to be. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. I think there are quite a number of questions that were directed to me, but I will allocate time to meet with the people who have asked me questions just to clarify extensively. I think the most important one, does the DORA allocation take into context the population? Ordinarily, it should. If you are running a state, you should make plans that are guided by numbers. You cannot just apply a blanket approach to planning. So my answer is simple and straightforward. DORA allocation must be guided by the numbers. We get numbers year in, year out from the Stats SA. You know, we must be able to, and this is obviously a question for the legislatures in the national parliament. I think if we've got structures that are close to the parliament, must actually put forth this question so that they are able to take it. But also another question, what can we do to address immediately the questions of
poor service delivery. It's a very deep question. I will not answer it by, in a minute, but what I can say is that if you look at the state of deterioration in our municipalities, you will agree with me that one, we need fiscal discipline in the finance unit. Two, we need to deal with the question of mannerism. It can't be that you have a municipality like Ditsobotla, going through section 139, subsection 7. It's a cause for concern to administrators, because subsection 7 means that the national government must descend to Northwest. What about the province? The province is actually saying we're tired of this municipality. So this creates a disjointure. This creates a serious problem for service delivery, and it also paints our municipalities badly insofar as investment is concerned. There's no investor that will confidently invest in a municipality that is full of hooliganism. So we've got to deal with this kind of mannerism. So, yeah, and maybe another point, which is simple, our municipalities needs to ask amongst the staff members how many are not paying the rates, because you need to inspire confidence. If you don't pay the rates, your people will not pay. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's Franz from the Municipal Finance Advisory. Hi. Franz from Municipal Finance spoke to or submitted that there should be a minimum repairs and maintenance fee or amount that is recommended to municipalities. I think I just wanted to comment to that to just say that first we just need to get our basics right. Let's get our municipalities actually all adopting funded budgets. Then we can speak to making things a bit more intricate. The main focus should just be on budgeting and getting that budget right and spending within that budget. Then we can make the smart recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think let's give the panel a round of applause. Thank you so much, Dr. Kgothakgothe.
Let's give our panel a very big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I think an hour was spent very, very fruitfully, because we were able to understand from those who are practitioners and those who are from academia on how we must fix this thing of local government. You see, sometimes we don't want to tell people where we come from, because some of us in the previous lives we were involved in those areas. So I'll keep it like that. But what is very important is that we will now be moving to commissions, and commissions will be run the same way as we have done the panelists. So we are encouraging. MEC has cautioned me that I need to plead with municipalities that this is your Kgothakgothe. And we are worried about the attendance. Our leadership from municipalities, most of them are standing outside, and we will lose that understanding from mayors, speakers, municipal managers, and chief whip and councillors who are invited here. Now we will be breaking for commissions for 1.5 hours, and we can even allow you to go to 6 o'clock, because I think dinner will be served after 6, obviously. So it was 4:10 when I ascended the stage. So the commissions will be 3, ladies and gentlemen. The first one is on policy reform, human resource matters, and governance. And the speakers will be facilitating exactly the same way like the panelists have been doing. The moderator stroke facilitator is MMC Zanele Mpafudi. Can he rise so that Pafudi? Yeah, MMC will be the moderator the same way as Professor Paf was dealing with the matter. He'll be joined by Councillor Mbezi. Is Councillor outside? Or Councillor Mbezi is here? And then panelist Motla Shuping, Mr. T. Motla Shuping. And then lastly, the rapporteur will be Mr. M. Ratloho. And no, you are not coming to the stage now because we will be going out. We will indicate where we are going to have. So we are encouraging that all other colleagues from university, from other sectors, partners who are invited, must also make sure that they participate in this commission so that we get full comprehension of the understanding of the topic. The second commission, it will be service delivery, infrastructure and development. So the first commission, before I go to the next one, is led by Manika. Manika, can you stand up with that board? So there is a board that will be indicating. I don't want to say, normally when after hours, ladies like showing things up. So it's not that one, it's for the commission, please. Bontate, I start to see you now thinking about something, so no. Bagai chomnaki mozete, akita maidi oteo ki mozete sisi kibinamuku. So Monica will be the one who will be showing where. Please don't think of anything. She just indicating you to where you must follow her. Thank you very much. The second one is service delivery, infrastructure and development. And please, we are asking, I know most councillors will want to go here. There will be no discussion about procurement today. It's only how to deal with infrastructure. I think you have not set aside budget allocation today, MEC. It's only to say, how do we deal with service delivery infrastructure? So we are encouraging, according to the HOD, if you are 3, so you must share yourself amongst the 3 commissions. Don't go to one commission so that we balance the commission. Moderator, facilitator is Mayor Maje, okay, executive mayor. There's a difference between the mayor and the executive. He's the executive mayor. So it means that your MMCs must listen to you. They are serving at your behest, executive mayor. Then the second one is Dr. Nyamazani. The third one, Mr. Habana Kosi. The fourth one is Mayor Nkotwe. And then lastly, the district MMR Jonas will be the rapporteur for Commission 2. Same applies, the principle, no ill intention. Zebe, can you show, the red lady is for Commission 2. No other intention, just for the Commission. Okay, lastly, AGSA will be interested to see people who will be flocking to this commission because it's a very interesting one that talks to compliance, audit accountability, financial management, and IGR. Commission 3 will be facilitated by Executive Mayor Ntangeni. The mayor who welcomed us, and then the panelist, Mr. L. Negovela. Oh, Miss. Bakwadile Master. Okay, me. Panelist, Dr. Kgothakgothe. Thank you. Panelist, Councillor Moeti. And then panelist, Mayor Jafta Wakorato. And then rapporteur is Ms. Kgothakgothe. So what we are requesting, as directed by the HOD and Prof, each commission must have an attendance register so that we must know who has participated in which commission for the final report that is going to be done. Now, we are allowing you between now and 6 o'clock to go and make sure that you follow exact format that was followed by the panelists here, so that you save time. You've got more than 1.5 hours for a discussion. And please make sure that you make a recommendation. Prof has indicated that there is a template developed. So you'll be populating that template. Tomorrow morning, when we start at 8 o'clock, towards 9 o'clock will be registration. Then 2.1, commissions will be starting to facilitate. But we still have got 2 items that we must get information on. The first one, key 2.6, about the determination of municipal boundaries outcomes 2026, and then state of readiness for 2026 local government. Thank you very much. I think now you will follow. Oh, did I indicate the third lady? Sena? It's only Lamona Bahaj Commission 3. Yeah. Yeah, when I was 24 years in 1994, I happened to have been the mayor somewhere, and I don't want to mention the area where we come from. That time it was very old. Honorable MEC will understand. But please let us make sure that we come up with the recommendations that are appropriate, that are going to take us forward. Honorable MEC, I think you must say something just for people to be disciplined at the commission as we close this session for the commission. Or you'll, okay, MEC says you will not say anything. So all commissions follow those ladies. Kana Commission 1, ma'am? Can Commission 1 leave so that we are orderly? Can those who want to be in Commission 1 follow her? Others must remain seated. Commission 1.